Well, I know that right now, like I'm living on Gambier, and thinking like, I mean, I've never been so far from skiing.
Yeah.
Now the resort is open more than ever, and then I just had a conversation with Keely about like, I'm like, oh, I think we got to go up to Whistler pretty soon, but like we're going to be like kind of sort of either couch surfing or making a deal with. We have a number of friends offering places, so we'll pay something to make it, offset costs and stuff. And but because she's not going to get a pass, she's not as fired up. But I'm like, I kind of got to be there. It was opening day. I wasn't there, and then oh my God, it's
nuts.
And I can't imagine doing what I do from here if possible. She's like, oh yeah, maybe we should hang here. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I can't just watch the forecast and rally.
I mean, you got to take a boat across. I mean, what's the commute time? Even just to get this actual time from island to mainland?
Well, it's like, first of all, you got to get from wherever you are to the boat, right?
Oh, right,
Half an hour there, right? You got to go down. You got to get the boats on an anchor.
Yeah.
I got to row out to the boat, get the boat back to the dock. You're going to do some kind of garbage run, recycling, whatever. So you got to throw all of that stuff in the boat. Then you run the boat. It's a half an hour run. You get to the marina. You got to unload everything into the vehicle, and then drive. It's like whatever it is, an hour and a half to Whistler, something like that, from West Van.
Right.
It's just like, and then living in Whistler like forever, like since '86. I'm just used to like, I can strike, right? I'm there. You can strike, so the night before what your next day is going to be like, and then you organize. I'm the kind of guy that before I go to bed, my gloves and goggles and everything, they're all laid out, and then I just grab and go the next, because I don't like getting up early. So I get up, coffee, grab my stuff, and I'm out the door.
Yeah, right.
Not like, oh, where the hell are my skins? Or where's this? Where's that? And all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so, out of here, it's a whole different story. I don't even know how that works.
I don't know. Okay, I'm going to do one thing here. I'm going to introduce you first because I'm going to use this stuff to begin with, but we're going to jump ahead here. So I'm going to introduce Eric Berger. Thanks for coming on my show. I'm really stoked to talk to you. It's really cool. We've been jamming a bit here, but I got to do a formal intro so people know who you are.
Yeah.
People who don't know who you are. Eric Berger is, one of the most influential snowboard and ski photographers that Sea to Sky has seen in a while. Originally from East Coast, Quebec.
Montreal.
Montreal, Quebec. And we've been talking. We've been chatty friends for a long time, just through work stuff back in the day. And I'm just stoked we get to do this and chat. It's been a couple weeks trying to line it up. I'm unorganized, and you're on an island, so it kind of took time.
We're very similar.
Yeah, but thank you very much for the show. It's great.
Oh, very stoked, buddy. Like we used to work together, and it's been a long time. We haven't connected in a while, so very happy to be part of this.
You were just talking about how to mission from the island and kind of what you've done what your normal routine is, right? And when you're 2 minutes from the hill, your routine changes, and then you go to being a day's mission from the hill or the mountain, I guess.
Well, do you want to give some context? Why am I on the island?
Yeah, so I'll tell them.
Because that's out of the blue.
Yeah, so
and it's not my normal me.
Yeah, I don't know when it really happened, but I guess you have relatives or your wife's family's on the island, on Gambier Island, and then you've got property there too as well. It's like an off-grid property, but you're slowly building it up with tiki bars, and you've been doing that for I don't know how long. You have to fill me in on that.
Okay, so it's somewhat, So it's my wife Keely, whose family has property on Gambier. Her grandparents bought here in the 50s.
Oh. And
her dad bought a property in West Bay on Gambier Island in '69. And Gambier Island, just for those who don't know, it's in the heart of Howe Sound, between Vancouver and Squamish, if you will, and the Sunshine Coast. So it's the southernmost fjord of the Salish Sea, and we're in the heart of it. And Keely's dad bought the property in '69, and she and I met in '87. Been together since.
You met here in Whistler?
And in Whistler, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then we started coming out, hanging out here, and then we got married in 2000. And in 2001, we ended up buying her dad's shares and eventually buying his partners out, and slowly been acquiring this property on the island in West Bay. And it's like this, yeah, it's kind of a world away from what I'm used to living in Whistler. And it's not off grid, it's on grid.
Okay.
But it is rustic and funky. It used to be an old logging camp.
Okay.
And then became a summer camp for a church group. And then that kind of went sideways, and Keely's dad, the bank took it over. Keely's dad bought it from the bank, and we bought it from him. And now we got this property here that we've been trying to develop with no funding, because we have a house in Whistler as well. So.
Right, yeah. And so, but since you go over there in the off season a lot, you've been working on a place, and
that's right.
Some of the days we couldn't talk because you're doing some handyman work, building your tiki bar and stuff, and getting the roof put on. But but normally you'd come back here in the fall, or early winter.
That's right. Yeah.
You're traveling around with athletes and everything else, and wherever you got to go to. And you had you worked in Whistler a lot, but since this whole shutdown things happened, you guys went to the island and kind of just really no need to leave it, and just it's been comfortable. You've been had a chance to work on the place, I guess, and.
Yeah, so normally we spend the summers here.
Yeah.
And rent our home in Whistler for the summers, the last couple of years anyways. And then and just have like a summer island time and invite friends over, and it's awesome. We have a great time and whatnot. And then but this year with COVID, things have changed a little bit. So Keely usually takes the summer off from her job at the Red Door Bistro, and then normally goes back in the fall, but that has been scaled down, and so that job is not there for her right now. And then myself, I mean, I've been on contract with Whistler Blackcomb as a marketing photographer since 87, something like that. Like a year after I got there, 87 or 88, like quite a long time. Yeah. And for the first time ever, with what's going on, and
sure.
Just so much less business coming to the mountain. Vail is on sort of like I'm gonna guess a sort of survival mode. So they've cut down a lot of budgets of things, and so the marketing budget is one thing that got cut. So my contract didn't get renewed this year. So both Keely and I are suddenly facing the winter of 2020 with no income per se, no jobs, not our regular jobs anyway. So we decided to rent our house in Whistler. We have a house in Whistler. We decided to extend a rental for the winter and extend our time on the island. So that's where we're at right now. And
it's
kind of different.
Yeah, and I mean it is quite different, because I mean I've been up the past couple of days. It hasn't been that busy, but even just the business wise, the travel restrictions, that kind of stuff. But I mean, you were I didn't realize it was that long, like 86. So you must have been just a young guy when you must have been.
I was 23. 23 when I moved to Whistler.
And then you got So then
57
you got
57 now.
How long? 57?
I'm 57 now.
I think it's 67. I'm like, there's no way you're 67 years old. So yeah, I mean that's a lifetime of like not a schedule, but a lifetime of like rolling into this, what's expected and what's the same every year, kind of, right? And I mean, it is interesting to see that when I worked there, the passes were a big thing. Getting a pass was like, everyone's like, "Where's my pass?" And you'd have I slept like midnight trying to email out pass numbers, get people their passes and stuff. 50, 60 passes.
Right, yeah. When you were giving them out,
and but it's a sign of it's a change. And I guess one thing too, maybe we could talk about this, is photography itself. I mean, maybe the needs have changed, or what people perceive as great photography becomes more accessible, and people feel like it's like not as needed. I think, I don't know how to explain it, but like, I don't know why they don't keep as much emphasis on that. They don't do the marketing. It's different than it's a lot of not family. It's like family marketing now. It's different.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, there's different things. You can be touching base on a bunch of different things. Depends what you're talking about. Photography in general, or you're talking about like the marketing department's need for photography, right?
Yeah, I think it's the marketing's need. Like what their level of need is. Are they doing as much? Is it different direction?
What's interesting is that like Whistler Blackcomb, who has had an in-house marketing department for as long as I have been around, it's been an award-winning program, right? So they've been winning awards. They work with Origin Design, and then the combination of like the team of the marketing team, Origin Design, the photographers, guys like Paul Morrison, myself, Robin O'Neill, and Blake Jorgensen, the rest, whatever, have been working together for all these years and have knowledge of the resort, knowledge of the culture, and probably like, a connection to what brought us. Certainly what brought me to Whistler, is the big mountains coming out from back east to the big mountains. And then that's what I strive to try and capture when I take photos out on the mountain, is to try and relay why I'm there. And it's like I'm not so interested in like the, necessarily the kids camp or the food program or I'm interested in the big vistas and all that kind of stuff, whatever. But the marketing department has always allowed us to pursue what we do best and pushed us in those different directions depending on what our skill level is at or skill set is at. And it has come back in a way that it has created really, really strong marketing program that's been award winning and whatnot. And that's now changed.
Like over the last, like, say 5 years of you doing this, and we're not trying to always focus on Whistler Blackcomb, but it's what we know really well. It's kind of like what we can relate to. But in the last few years of you doing this, what do you like? Have you seen what the changes and what the need for photography is? Have you been asked to like do different things? Have they said we don't need the vistas? They just need like. Are they asking you to do more like?
No, you know what? I've been really fortunate. My contract with Whistler Blackcomb has been like it's been as good as you could ever imagine. I was always told, just do what you do. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because apparently what I was doing was always bringing them something they were looking for. Right. So I was never really controlled in that kind of way. I've never had to do any kind of control shoots. I just go out and do my thing. So there's a ton of freedom there.
Which is great.
And then, I've kind of like, I've been around long enough. I sort of seen the direction of it all. So I kind of know what works, what doesn't work, and try and steer what I'm doing with my athletes to meet those needs, as well as what the athletes want to be doing, because often what the athletes want to do is different than what the mountain needs. So trying to strike a balance there. And then what's really been helpful is with all the years of being in Whistler, working with the mountain, working with the patrol, is the trust that's developed between the patrol and I, for instance.
Right.
And working that to my advantage to sort of like have access to certain areas. The biggest challenge with shooting on the mountain and trying to showcase it best, which always exists, but it doesn't exist for very long because everybody kind of goes out there and shreds it. But if you're on it, you can get out there and you could be the first one on the peak, and you could be the first one down any bowl and be that person. And, we try to showcase a bit of that. But the only way to do it as a photographer is, close relationships with the patrol, with operations, certain access and whatnot. So I think that's something that I've developed over the years with Paul and I and the team.
Yeah, I think that's one thing is like, we have resort marketing, and I noticed too, like even just, excuse me, as like a creative sometimes, the best is to let the creative just do what they want. If you're a writer, let them write. If you're a photographer, let them shoot. Obviously they need certain things to be banged out and get, we need a shot of people on groomers. I've skied with you a couple times.
Sure.
But for the most part, when you try to direct them too much, it just becomes phony and just kind of comes off as kind of not legitimate. And then if you've got that connection, I got a frog in my throat here. I felt like when I worked with you, I'd be like, it's easier for you to just let you talk to patrol than me to try to organize it, because it's just another loss in communication or whatever it was. But I think there's that idea that people want to. There was a time where people wanted to get their hands in everything, and it just kind of that just meant you handcuffed the creative people. And so, do you think there's like in the time? Do you think that as you work, do you do commercial shoots and stuff? Do you do like really like strictly like storyboarded commercial shoots, or because you've been an editorial photographer? I know you've been like done like stuff for some kind of private somewhere and everything else, but like there's you're mostly editorial, right? So you have that freedom.
Yeah, I mean, not as much as I used to. So I used to be a senior photographer for Transworld Snowboarding
Yeah, right.
magazine. I was for 10 years, and in those years, I did a lot of commercial stuff
Right.
with different brands and whatnot. But nothing I've ever done ever in my career was storyboarded. It was always like, even if it was a commercial shoot for K2 or whoever, we'd either be somewhere where there's be at a resort or somewhere, and then just do what comes naturally. You're a team. Here's what we're going to do. I mean, I might have a bit of a say in, like, hey, I think we should do this, we should do that, and then let's go. And then obviously, as a photographer, I got to see things in order to capture them. If I don't see the shot, it's hard for me to make it happen. And then I've had a few things where we've done stuff like, I remember, like, I did a lot. I was a senior photographer for K2's marketing, K2 Snowboarding's marketing, for a bunch of years, and we did some stuff in Seattle that was non-snow related, but we would just kind of wing it, just kind of like, we have, Sean Farmer, Parada, Tex, Davenport, those guys, and we grab the K2 Lincoln, the vintage Lincoln, and drive around and then just go find some funky places to do just weird sort of like lifestyle-y kind of stuff, and then they'd find a way to make it work. But it's always been pretty loose.
Yeah, that's what, like, the industry seems to be always. That's how it got its ground. I mean, like, seems like things are too polished. I mean, like I said, you trust the photography, trust the artists, trust the athletes, but if it gets too polished, you don't get that magic or fire that you guys would pull off just getting in that Lincoln and driving around. Because that's what the heart of skiing was, and should still be, kind of is, but everything's tried to be so polished now where it's like, you wouldn't. There was when they brought in Deep Winter, say that contest in Whistler to celebrate the storm season. Well, that was a contest to celebrate storm season, but everything in marketing was always about sunny days and everything else, and Whistler Blackcomb was never like that way. And so if you think of like that was kind of like planned marketing, right? Where if you're just, I think back then, and not even back then, it wasn't that long ago, but that freedom and that expression of just artistry, whatever you want to call it, in skiing, snowboarding. I kind of default to skiing, but that's what made its foundation.
Well, I'll give you a good analogy that kind of puts it in perspective too, right? Is that, your marketing department or your whatever, you want to hire a photographer. Like, I did some DJing for a bunch of years in Whistler, whatnot, right? So
awesome.
And when I was younger, I remember I used to go to the clubs, and I was always asking requests and stuff, but I'd be on the dance floor and having a good time. But then I became a DJ, and then I realized the last thing you want to have when you're DJing is constant requests, because you go in there and you're doing a set and you have a kind of a vibe in mind, and then if you start to play to someone else's requests, you kind of lose your direction and you could get really messed up. And if you're a venue operator or you're having a wedding, like, you hire a DJ because you like their style of music, and then what you should do is just let them play that thing. They know what they do, it's what they do, and go with it. You might want to put a little bit of input prior to the gig, but once the gig's underway, just let that person play. And it's the same thing with photography. You want to start controlling too much stuff, you're going to lose what that photographer is bringing to the table from their own creative, like, we're creatives, so you don't want to kind of stifle that too much. You got to select someone that has kind of a vision that's in line with what you're trying to create, maybe from the get-go. That's how I see it from my side of the.
Yeah, I think when you're trying to watch stories unfold, like when you're trying to, like, when you make a movie or something like that, you're trying to like make a script work, or a television make a script work. But skiing isn't scripted, and these things aren't scripted. So you're trying to just let that person just shoot whatever's happening in the action, because that's what the actual truth of it is. Other than say, hey, turn here or throw a snowball to find that spot, but you're not trying to like direct things. Do you think that there's so many photographers going on now, so much happening, that there's less ways to be original in skiing as far as photography goes? There must be, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of true shots where that that turn, the pole still counts, but do you find there's just seeing a lot of things over and over again anymore? It's hard to be creative. or at
Well,
least
no, I mean, I see that like there's really talented photographers in that pool that are bringing stuff that stand out to you and might inspire you to kind of like, oh, I got to push myself a little bit more and trying to get more of that moody stuff or trying to get more of the scenic stuffs and or whatever. So there's that aspect. You can get inspired by what's going on. And then, I mean, for me personally, when I go out there, I really I let the mountains, the light, the terrain, all of that speaks to me. I don't go in, pardon me, having something very specific
right.
in mind. I never know what I'm going to do when I go out there. I go out and then I'm, you know, ideally it's great when I work with athletes who've got a bit of experience, and then we can kind of sort of see things together. We don't try to force it. You try to force something and make something happen. It can be a real struggle to make it happen. But if you go and then you see something happening, the light, the terrain, whatever, and if I see it and the athlete sees it, then all of a sudden we're really setting ourselves up for success. And then there's a better chance of us capturing something that's a bit special. But, you know, and I'm sure it's the same with you. Like, you know, you might go up the ski hill and you might have an idea of what you want to ski, but you don't necessarily know. All of a sudden, this chair opens, that chair opens, your whole plan changes, and now you're improvising. We're constantly improvising, even just free skiing without a camera, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing when you're taking photos. You're just improvising, and what's happening, where you are, the more you go with the flow, I find, the less you're battling and the more productive you become.
That makes sense, and also probably the more like triumphant you feel after, because it was more like, hey, we just nailed that. And it was like kind of out of the blue. We just kind of saw at the corner of our, hey, that light's hitting that cornice perfectly. If you get there now,
yeah, it came out of our own creativity and seeing it and reacting to it.
Yeah. So I mean, talking about
that was always the way, and remains the way. It doesn't matter how many people are shooting out there. You know, I can just go out and do what I do. Now, one thing that makes a difference is consistency. If you can be consistent and producing good results, that's a positive. If you have good relationships with the people with whom you work, they're going to want to work with you more. You know, those things matter a lot.
Well, you also like, I've gone a few times. You're like, yeah, I know the spots. So the longer you spend in an area, like especially with Sir Blackcomb for you, I mean, I can't very well. That's like, you know, you're like, yeah, I know if we go over here at 10 o'clock in the morning in February, it's probably going to look like this. Snow will be different, maybe a different snowpack, maybe wind hit differently or whatever. It's probably going to look like this. And if it's skied out, I know if we can go around the corner here, it's good. So, I mean, if you're working, so in that respect, it's almost orchestrated, but it's only over a year of consuming or I guess like compiling just the knowledge of the area, where it's less by chance, but it's always by chance. But at least you know at certain times, you know where the mountains are, where the light hits what. So you can go there and kind of say, hey, I could probably nail something here right now if I get it. And that's like for a resort. I mean, that's where efficiency comes in, where they don't have to guide you. They know if we send Berger, he's going to be like, go out and come back. Listen, it hasn't snowed in 3 days. We know he's going to come back with some fresh pass shots because he knows where to go and get these things done, right? And so I don't know what when you're in a brand new zone, like I know skiers look at photos, they get in a helicopter or a plane, they fly around, take photos of the landscape and stuff. And I mean, on those trips you're with them and saying, yeah, we should look at that. Are you providing input on that kind of stuff too? Or are you just like,
definitely. So, you know, just stepping back to what you're saying about the resort, for sure with the resort, because I shoot on the resort so much, and the resort is such a challenge with all the traffic and whatnot, you kind of build some strategies, and you kind of know at different times of year where the sun's going to be, and you might have some idea of where to be, and then when you're there, you're still improvising with what is happening, tracks and snow and conditions, all that kind of stuff. When I go to places I've never been, you know, sometimes being at a place, like I shoot at Whistler Blackcomb all the time, and I know that it can become a trap, right? You fall back on this is a go-to shot that I know is going to work. And you end up shooting the same shot every year, different athlete, different outfit, different light, but same kind of thing. And you go somewhere you've never been, and suddenly you're seeing it in a whole new light. And if you've been in the mountains enough that you kind of have an idea of where to look just a little bit beyond the boundary, or the aspect for the time of day or whatever, you can still go out and find things, and you might find shots that the local doesn't find. I mean, I see shots of Whistler Blackcomb that other people take, and I go, where the heck is that? I have no idea. I've been here for 30 plus years. I've never seen that shot. Or that angle, a new take on the angle with a combination of the lens and where they're standing or whatever.
I mean, there's so many variables. Like, just the last second there, you mentioned the lenses and angles and stuff. But there's also if we talked about people asking for stuff, like as a marketing department, no matter what resort you have, if that like the tusk, it's like, hey, we need a tusk photo this year for the headlight. It's like there are some of those nailed off shots and stuff. But I kind of want to move away a bit from talking about Whistler so much, because I know it's like we could talk about it forever and we're both going to enjoy it. I'm curious too, like shooting for so long. Do you walk around with a camera in your hand during the day? Like, are you like people kind of keep their skills going? Do you like, oh, sure, yeah, okay, right. Okay.
We all do.
Yeah, I should have probably
changed. It's crazy though how this has changed things.
Do you use is that a tool for you now? As far as like, is that something you'd use?
Well, it is for social media.
Sure.
It is for social media.
But as far as a camera goes, is a phone even a thought of yours? As far as like, I mean, it's not really, right?
No. I mean, although I just sold a shot to BC Ferries that I happened to take with my phone of a ferry going by from the West Bay dock.
Right.
And but no, I still when it comes time to doing, the commercial work that I do, the work where I want to have high quality images on file, I work with digital SLRs.
Right.
Or well, I got a digital SLR, my Nikon, and I also work with an Olympus, like a non-mirrored camera or whatever, like a smaller little setup. But they're both like high res,
sure,
cameras. Now, do I walk around with them all the time? I'm not that guy.
No, right.
No, I go
looking for a photo. That'd be
as cool. As a matter of fact, I've been thinking now that I'm here on Gambier for an extended period of time, and I've been thinking, what I want to do is trying to start capturing these, because there's epic panoramic views around here all the time. When I'm out on my boat, and I go, I want to do a series of these panoramics, and I'm thinking I got to carry my good gear to get those shots and stitch them together and build those shots. And I always forget to bring my gear. I don't really think about it unless I'm thinking, unless I know I'm going out on a mission.
Right. Well, it's hard. I mean, if you're just going out to take your boat somewhere, do something, to bring all the gear just in case. If you want to have the right, I mean, I'm not a photographer. I mean, I have cameras, and they've got more dust than photos on them. But it just seems like, around. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I guess at some point, like, are you like gonna go like, okay, this might sound dumb, but if you're gonna go shoot something, I'm like, and if you're not shooting all the time, but you got to go warm up and like, got to go take some few shots and just like, can you get off the couch and go bang, and you've been doing it for so long, you're like, I got this? Or if it's like, are you out there just like still tinkering and everything else? Or I mean, I don't want to blow away any secrets.
No.
Move on if you need to, but
no. As a matter of fact, so during the summer, I don't carry my big gear around as much. Right. I'm more focused on. I do shoot with my gear. I do some paddleboard stuff and some with the van, lifestyle, different things or whatever, occasionally, but not a lot. Whereas in the winter, I shoot a lot. And what I find typically is at the beginning of the season, when I start shooting, I really got to concentrate because there's just so many things to think about, First of all, so many variables in the settings of the camera, and then composition and timing and communication and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to say that I miss shots at the beginning of the season, but I'm definitely a bit more vulnerable, and I do have to be on my game. Whereas if I compare to the end of the season, after I've been shooting all season, like I'm so fluid by the time the spring comes around, I'm like, everything's happened. I don't even have to think it, but I do have to think in the fall and this time of year when I first start get going. I gotta be
sure. Well, you hit your rhythm, and your rhythm just carries you. Like, I mean, everyone's got the stumbling block. Your first day of skiing, your legs are beat or whatever. That kind of stuff happens. But it must be one of the things that comes back pretty quick. Do you ever think like, oh, I need to, like, you see something cool and you're like, I'm gonna go get that filter or that thing so I can try that, like experiment more. But I guess if you're working all the time, it's experiments can't just, you got to make sure you get what you need from that shooting. So experimenting must be a bit of more of like a labor of love on the outside of the regular work, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, for me, I just keep it real simple.
Hey, that's good. Yeah, it works.
I keep it real simple. I just go out and I work with what's there. I have dabbled with filters in the past and whatnot, and I've done a bit of stuff with lighting, but like I'm not into carrying a bunch of lighting with me out into the field in the environments that I shoot. Like it's just, to me, it's like dragging an anchor. Like I don't know. Like, but I have a lot of respect for what other people are doing with artificial lighting in the backcountry and what's possible and whatnot. It's just, and I've struggled with it a lot. Like, oh, should I be getting, should I be trying to keep up? Should I be trying to do this? But I've just chosen to kind of keep it simple. Like my forte, I work with what's there. Yeah, I work with the light that's there. I work with the conditions that are there and with the people that I'm with. And I just try to make something happen within that. And I try to get creative with my lenses, my angles, the light and shadow and all that kind of stuff. But, it's kind of like my whole life is like that. I try to keep things fairly simple,
Well, it's worked. Clearly it's working, so it's worth it. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like if I was like by the water of town, or like, as if you spend more time by the water, maybe this year is a bit of a transition, different year. It's going to let you look at what you really do want to do. And I mean, I would start to be drawn by things I'm around more often. So if you take your break from summertime, take your break on during the summertime and you don't shoot much, and then you come back to skiing refreshed and ready to go and stoked on it. I would find myself maybe drifting towards like, maybe I need to get an underwater lens or like an underwater thing, or just go and like, I don't know how close you are to the water, so I'm thinking maybe I just in my head I'm assuming you're like on the coast. I don't know what Gambier is like much, so but
yeah, you know what? When I come here, it becomes about something else.
Okay, cool.
It becomes about something like the big picture, the majority of the picture that I live in the summer when I'm on this island. It becomes not so much about photography, and it becomes more about this property that I have with Keeley and where we want to go with it. So we want to get into this retreat business. Okay. So we got a pretty cool, we got a 7-acre property on Gambier Island. Like I said before, Gambier is in Howe Sound, right between Vancouver and Squamish. And we got this family property that we purchased, 7 acres, and it's fairly rustic. And we've got sort of a glamping setup. So I've got yurts and canvas tents, and it's an old logging camp, and I built a tiki bar and so on and so forth. And for, I don't know, 20 years now, we've been hosting friends there. Cool. And having a great time. Everyone has a great time, but everyone's always there for free, just friends, right? And we thought, now it's been a sort of a dream of Keeley's to try to get this some sort of retreat thing going, and I've been wanting to be supportive, and I see an opportunity. So we've been sort of dabbling with that more. And so while I'm here, it's a lot about that. To make that happen, there's so much work involved, starting from nothing. And with no budget, it's all hands-on. So I got to be here doing that. I can't be somewhere else doing other kind of projects. I leave myself open for photo projects during the summer, but, I don't charge after it maybe as much as I could or as other people might. And so when things come along, I take them on. And when they're not there, I don't stress about it. I'm focusing on this other thing, which is kind of like where I'm seeing myself going, in the future, is running this retreat with Keeley in the summer as our summer gig.
It's pretty cool because, you've been doing it for so long. You've probably been building this thing, and you've learned how to dial in the life there and how it works, and what you need, and where if we do this here, it's going to make this more of a better setting for people who are visiting. And you've had the time to have friends come and visit, and just kind of be able to work out the kinks over as a thing to do, just like a pastime and a passion that's just something you wanted to do all the time. It seems cool that you're looking towards a future of making a bit of a business or whatever you want to call it, retreat out of it. Without just walking in there, buying the plot and building it, let's do this. You've been able to work that land and see how it's going to work. And okay, if we do this and like,
Yeah, well, what's happened is we've had like whatever it is, 15, 20 years of experiencing it from ourselves, longer for Keely, right? She's been going there since she was born. She grew up there, and then I kind of stepped in, and we've been creating our own experience there and developing our own experience, and then sharing it with our friends, and it's been a really positive thing, and it's been really a very natural growth. You know, having no budget to just, like you say, just throw a whole bunch at it, and all of a sudden, boom, it's done. We've been doing it by hand, slowly, and it's sort of come its way. And then now we're like at a point where we have this experience and we're ready to share it. You know, we got this place that's like unorthodox, kind of funky, rustic. It happens to be that that's a bit of a demand these days with what people are looking for, something that's like out of the ordinary. It's close to Vancouver. It's easy to get to. And when you get here, there's all sorts of opportunities of different things to do. And we got this sort of like non-traditional setting, but everything is there that you need. Hot water, comfort, whatever. And we're here. We're in the background, and we're there, and we're just like there to help support, answer questions, make sure people have what they need, you know, and troubleshoot or whatever.
Sure.
And so this summer was the first summer that we actually kind of started doing some Airbnb, and we're collaborating with a friend of ours that's a paddleboard outfitter. Norm Hand Expedition out
I've
Squamish.
heard of it before.
Yeah, awesome, amazing guy.
Yeah.
And
he did that paddle mission up along the.
Oh my God.
Like that. Yeah. All right. Anyway, sorry. I don't want to.
He does incredible stuff. Yeah. No, he did a thing this summer where he left from West Vancouver, went all the way up the Sunshine Coast, across the Vancouver Island, back down to Victoria, all by paddleboard with one of his guests.
Shit. Wow.
You know, and then, but he does stuff in the Great Bear Rainforest and Haida Gwaii in Belize in the winter, and then he was looking for something around closer to Vancouver, and he's paired up with us.
Oh, perfect.
So we worked with him. We've been doing some Airbnb, and this was our summer to test the waters to see if people who are paying for an experience on our property are having a good time, and B, are we having a good time hosting them. You know,
that's the thing. You get over that fast. You're like, I'm out.
Well,
sorry, you do all this work.
Yeah, it could be like it's our own private property, and now we got like all sorts of like, you know, who knows what kind of people you're going to get, and this doesn't align with us, and we're now not having fun. We're just babysitting the whole time. But as it turned out, it was great on both sides. People who came had a great time, and because we were worried, like, okay, our friends who come and stay for free, they're having a great time, sure. You know, they're contributing, everyone's contributing, but no one's having to pay. If you're paying X amount of dollars per night, is there a problem for you that you're using an outhouse or that you're sleeping in a tent and not a cabin or whatever? So, but the result was that the people that came, it surpassed their expectations.
Right.
Everyone had a great time. And then Keely and I had a great time sharing it with them, you know, and we kind of we do a balance of being involved, but also stepping back and letting them curate their own experience without too much control from our end.
It is pretty cool that you can watch that experience and watch your friends come and see what people expect. Because that thing about paying, I thought about it, but I never really put too much thought into it. That someone comes to pay for it, even if you say this is a you know, whatever, like not an off grid, but like it's got outhouses. Even if you say
manage expectations. There's outhouses. There's like it's rustic. It's this, that, whatever.
I think people who are willing to use an outhouse probably aren't going to be throwing beer cans in the forest and just like not. They're going to be like trying their best to just enjoy it, and I mean it's probably just going to inherently pull people in that are already kind of okay with what it is, just by design. I mean there are people looking at there they kind of think they want something they don't want it. Like happy that they're staying. Like this is not what I wanted. But it's cool that you guys are there and you got a story to tell. And people, I think when somebody knows you've been there building this place your whole life and they come in, that they know that story as a guest, it's probably easier for them to appreciate that than it's, yeah, we built this last year. We got this.
Yeah, I don't know. People come and then they get told, like, Keely's been there 50 years, like it's a family. This you're invited now onto this family heritage experience.
Yeah. Do you guys have do you guys grow your own food? Do you have gardening and stuff going on there? Do you guys have
tons. Yeah. So Keely has a huge garden that she grows all sorts of veggies and herbs and berries and stuff. So at different times of the year, you harvest different products out of the garden, and then I go out and I harvest prawns, BC spot prawns, crab. Sometimes, occasionally, we go fishing. I don't do any salmon fishing just because I don't have the time to put in. I'm always just so busy with this. But once in a while, I'll go jig for some rockfish and whatever. But mostly it's prawns and crab in the garden. And then so we'll do these meals where we collab. Sometimes we have meals where everything is from us except maybe the butter and the alcohol.
Gotta make some moonshine out there, man. Get some corn mash.
Well, the Keely's grandfather used to make blackberry wine here.
Oh, really?
Dude, there's still stuff in the basement down here. So, like, there's tons of blackberries here.
Yeah.
And so her grandparents used to pick blackberries. Her grandfather made a blackberry wine, and then he used to set a roadblock across the road, I'm in the cabin right now, the grandparents' cabin, and he used to set a roadblock right across the road here. The main dock is right down here, and he would sit with a buddy of his, and they would stop. Anybody who tried to go through had to come to the deck and have a glass of blackberry wine with everybody and socialize before they could go through.
I thought you were going to say something else, like stop them from taking the blackberries, but that's an incredible turn of what I thought I was going to hear, to say come by and drink the wine, because that's what shit's about. That's what that's what skiing's about. It's what things are about. Like, you just enjoy it with friends. It's like, hey, these are the fruits of my labor, and I want you to enjoy.
Bringing people into your bubble, into your experience, into what you've got going on. Right now we're trying to keep everybody out of our bubble. Back then, you used to invite people into your bubble.
I was just gonna say that's such a, and it's cool to see. Like, I mean, that's such a contrast. I was thinking the same thing. Is like, right now I live alone. I live solo, so I'm trying to make sure I can still have friends and everything else. And I can't. The bubble's weird because my family's not in this town. But if I go see them, it makes their bubble weird. And I have to have a social life at some level, so I have to talk to people. So, but if you're on this island, I mean, it could be just been like, you're on in a spot. Maybe back then, maybe there was a lot of people there. Be like, hey, come on in. Like, I want to enjoy your company too. And by doing that, I'm going to give you a glass of wine so that you can enjoy my company. I don't have to just show up and, I talk your ear off for 2 hours. But you probably make tons of friends that way and connections, and you meet people from wherever, I'm sure, if they're strangers, right?
It's easy to do, especially if you have your own tiki bar, it helps.
It's easier.
I mean, there's here there's always a big social scene at the docks and whatnot. So right now, with what's going on, Keely and I are fully isolated. So we're here. We have friends on the island, and we're not seeing. She's got one friend who's single, and so she goes and walks. He's got a dog. She walks a dog with him. It's part of her exercise for just mental stimulation, getting out of the house. Does a daily thing. We have friends that we want to hang out with right now, but we're trying to make a point of just kind of waiting until we're good to go, because it would sure make things funner here. It's a bit of bit of Groundhog Day in the cabin here,
I bet, man.
We get
the
up.
Fire's going out, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to go stir it up. I'm gonna have to get another beer too, so we're gonna take a pause in a moment. But yeah, I get up, I'm on the computer, I do my social media, I do a little bit of editing or whatever I gotta do. Then I go and work on the tiki bar or whatever projects I gotta do. I come back in the evening, we make a dinner, watch a little Netflix and chill. I pass out. Last night by 9:30 p.m. I was done. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? I think it's part of the, this time of year, the days are so short, but yeah, it's good
to feel. It's good to feel exhausted. I've been doing this too. Like, I've been trying to be a little bit cleaner and just exercise and do things. And it's good to feel tired at the end of the day from something you did that you feel like was productive. And if it's work on your tiki bar, build something like that, and you go to sleep, you go to sleep well, and you've been, even though you didn't see people, you're like, I worked on something. You have that energy's been used because you're building something up. not just
Yeah, even if it's just a little bit every day. Plus, for
yeah.
me right now, because of the fact that I can't be in my home in Whistler and I'm in this cabin. So we're in a cabin.
How many
Uh,
square feet is it? Like
uh,
800? Is it like a big? I mean,
it's
you guys
got to
found.
be like, I don't know, maybe close to 1,000 square
Okay,
feet,
right.
900, something like
Not bad.
that. Because
Yeah.
there's a shed out back that,
Okay.
but the main cabin, maybe 800, I'd say 800 square feet, the main cabin. It's pretty small, but it's big enough.
Is it?
It's
Did,
it's Keely's grandparents' cabin, but
they built it?
her they died. They
Okay.
passed away. So her uncle now owns it, and
Yeah.
he's letting us stay here. It's only costing us hydro, so
Sure.
it's cheap, and it's like, so you got to be grateful that we have this little out while we try to navigate this uncertain
Mm,
situation,
right.
which will eventually pass.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of make me realize, like, I've never been here this long, and I've gotten so much done by being here. Well, normally I'd be in our van,
Right.
road tripping in California.
Yeah.
We could talk about the van. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
how about I get my fire going
Yeah.
and get
Sure. I'm
myself
gonna I'm
another
gonna fill up
beer.
my. I'm gonna get some more Baileys for my coffee, and then we'll get
Okay,
back
so
in 2 minutes too.
let's take a break.
Yeah. Sure. I'm gonna keep it running though, so we don't have to try to connect
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Boom. Good timing.
Hey, welcome back.
Yeah. Big break. Fire looks good, man. Looks like you got a
Got the fire going again. I got a nice. I want to give these guys a little love. Faculty Brewing out of Vancouver. Heard of these guys?
No.
Oh my God, they make such good beer.
Are they? So Smiley was telling me that he lives in the east end of town, like commercial and van, whatever, and he said there's breweries.
Yeah, this is I haven't been to the brewery yet, but I think it's roughly in that area. Uh,
Right?
these guys came to our camp this summer
Oh, cool.
as part of a group. I met the guy, and then he sent me some beers, and I find a lot of times microbrewery beers are super hoppy, and it's not really my style. And
Yeah.
this guy's stuff has got an awesome balance.
Cool.
So this is the blonde ale.
Nice. Well, cheers, man.
It is.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers to mugs and beer. I haven't had Bailey's in so long. I forgot how wintry Bailey's. It's good.
So you went from Kahlua to Bailey's.
Yeah, I put the last of my Kahlua in there.
So funny. Kahlua is so old school. I had Kahlua in my liquor cabinet, and I don't know. I had it forever. I tried to use it, and it wasn't working for me. It's not the same. I'm a Bailey's kind of guy, I think.
There's like that. There's that St. Catharines or some kind of other kind of Bailey's.
No, but you know what? There's one that I've been drinking. I think it's called Blarney's or something like that.
Okay, right.
And it's not expensive. It's like $20 for $19 for 26 ounces. I gotta say,
pretty good.
Pretty damn good. And if it's not good, just add a little more.
Well, that's like anything. What's it called again?
I don't know. Here, I'm gonna do a plug.
Yeah, sure, man. I'm down.
Because you want to know, it's a good deal.
I want to try it. Eric Berger, everybody. You guys are a legend. The cool thing is you can just watch what he's doing.
Hold on. Let me get my... Yeah, you know what? We're on the island here, and it's all about cheap and cheerful because I go through a lot of booths here. So I got to kind of... It's this stuff here.
You got to pull it away, but yeah. Blarney's. Okay, right. Okay.
Blarney, right?
Yeah.
$19 for a 26 ouncer when it's on regular price, and then it often goes on sale. So that's
You got to go to the mainland for that. There's no.
No, it's all over the place.
No, but
do you? Yeah. There's nothing here. There used to be a store just actually right next door to where I am right here.
Yeah.
And Keely and I actually almost bought the store, like, I don't know, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought that it was a bad idea. We ended up not being able to make the deal work. We were just a little bit off on the financing. We're like, our offer didn't get accepted, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
Probably a blessing in hindsight because it allowed us to put our energy into the property that we have.
Sure.
And then it's been purchased. It's turned over hands a couple times since, but in recent years it's been closed. So it's a bit of a drag because there used to be a little store here that you could go buy some supplies, not liquor. You could have a drink if you had lunch there, but you couldn't
Yeah.
buy liquor,
Right.
but you could buy supplies. And now there's nothing here. So any supplies you need, you have to go off island.
And yeah. So speaking of going off island, you're talking about your van before we did the booze break and the fire break.
But the van,
So Eric's got this like I don't know what years, probably 80s, maybe early 90s Westphalia
80
van. 88.
1989 Volkswagen Westphalia.
Yeah. And did you get it as a piece of junk and you fixed it up, or did you buy it semi good and you did some work to it, or?
We bought it semi good for sure.
Yeah. They're not cheap, eh?
No, it was not cheap. I mean, it's a California van, so it was in good shape with no rust. So typically those, they're 30 plus years old, right? So they can be a big problem with not only rust, but then the entire system front to back, like everything from the fuel tank, the fuel lines, the cooling systems, electricals, everything.
Yeah.
So ours was in not bad shape. It needed a lot of stuff. It was very stock.
Mm-hmm. Is it a synchro or four-wheel or two-wheel drive or
two-wheel drive?
Okay.
Drive.
Yeah.
And then Keely hates when I talk numbers, so I won't talk numbers.
You don't have to.
We got it for a pretty reasonable price. At the time when I bought it, I brought it in to get it checked out, and then all of a sudden the guy at the shop told me that there was like $6,000 worth of repairs just to make it safe to drive, not any improvements.
The import costs and stuff. You have to do certain things to import.
No, just like fixing brakes and making it safe to drive. So the guy who was selling it, who was asking, his number, I just told him, I said, I got good news and bad news. The bad news is your van needs $6,000 just to make it safe for me to take it back to Whistler. The good news is I'm still interested. We just got to find, and I told him, I said, I don't expect you to cover that. Let's meet part way. And so we made a deal. My VW mechanic told me that at the time it was the best deal that went down in BC for that year.
Wow.
So we did pretty good. And then, with what I saved and I had budgeted, we basically took care of all those deficiencies and have since been fixing. And then the motor died, and then the transmission died, and then the transmission died again. And then I'm probably $80,000 now into this like vintage Volkswagen van, but that thing is badass and it's so much fun. And then even like right now, we're trying to make this real estate deal on our property on Gambia. We're trying to buy out our partner, and Key's like, "Oh, maybe we should sell a van." I'm like, I just can't.
Yeah,
it's right where I want it. It's like this summer. Even like in the spring, we exploded our transmission. So the whole summer we were without the van, getting the transmission sorted out. It's back on the road now, and it's like I can't sell it now. It's good to go.
Yeah.
And normally we would go away. So normally we go away every fall. We pack up our camp in September, and by October 1st, which is my birthday, we're on the road, and we like to head south into California, and then or wherever. Follow the heat and extend our summer. And this year, with the restrictions and the border closure, we're not going anywhere. Right. So the van's a little bit on hold right now, but yeah.
No,
the Vanagon Diaries on Instagram is the way to follow.
Right?
The Vanagon Diaries.
Okay.
And then you can follow along with it's kind of like VW nerd image. Driven.
VW lovers are nerds, man. I've had VWs for a long time. My brothers bought it. We bought a Volkswagen 64 Super Beetle, the first year Super Beetle. We bought it in Florida when my brother was 16 and I was 13. We towed it back on a U-Haul. My parents with this wagon we had. He still has it.
Does he?
Fucking caught on fire last year. He's driving just it's got a bit of work to do, but I think
I was gonna say it's worth something. 64.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to hold it in reverse to go reverse.
Is that oval window?
No.
Oh, it's
well in the back it's round. It's not the old school, like it's not the split window or anything, but it's like
there was split window, then there was oval window. Like there's these little things that when like they're all these little things that take you. Because that's far
Yeah,
enough back. All of a sudden, it's worth a whole lot more because it's that other generation.
yeah. I don't really know too much of the intricacies about it, but I do know it caught on fire, and he ran up. It's a pretty funny story. So I tell you a story this time. He, he. I guess he had gone last summer. It's not even my story. It just makes me laugh because he loves this thing, right? I'm like, it's been in the garage. He never drives it. I'm like, but it's pretty sick. He was driving it through Squamish a little while ago, and I guess the engine caught on fire, and he could see coming at the back. So he stopped and pulled over and had to run to some guy's house. And he grabbed this hose and ran with it, and then ripped the hose off the guy's house because it didn't fit back in.
Oh no! So there was no water at the
Yeah,
hose.
he was like cupping water to his fucking vehicle to turn it off. Anyway,
Oh.
he got it fixed. There's a bit of a burn mark on the back, but he had a Westphalia too in Ontario, and he wanted to keep it. But I mean, he sold it, and it was just so many offers. Old vehicles. I think it was the two-wheel drive one. It was pretty stock, but just the value. And if you're a VW nerd, you're just like you're into it. And those things go for a ton of money. Like even just regular conversion vans, I'm blown away. It's like 1991 Ford Econoline. The van itself's worth like.
Yeah.
And someone
Well,
goes,
that's what we were
tile
looking
wall.
at first. We were looking at we were trying to get a 4-wheel drive Ford Econoline at first.
Yeah, that's
Then
what
we found out you can't find them in BC.
Four-wheel drives are possible.
They're full unicorns because there's so many restrictions when they come across the border. And then we got into the Volkswagen thing.
Yeah, because there's
But
that.
what it comes down to too, you got to realize like those are antiques now, right? Like you want to buy like an antique Porsche or an antique whatever, like say any kind of cars that are like collector's plate worthy. They cost money now. All of a sudden, an old MG or a Triumph or all these cars that I would love to have, they cost money, and so are the vans. But the thing that's different, like, because I remember when I first came into Whistler in '86, and then I think the following year in '87, I went back to Quebec because I was a river guide. And I had a good job back there, which I didn't have in the summer in Whistler. So I went back. I was a senior river guide, and I bought a '72 Volkswagen Westphalia, and I drove that out west. And I drove it for a bunch of years, but then I eventually sold it because so many things broke down on it, and I was a young kid, and I couldn't keep up. But everything's changed now. Like there's so much aftermarket stuff that you can really dial these vehicles in and turn them into modern. Like our van is lifted, like modern. I got Fox shocks on our van. Like there's so many things, and I can go so many places. It's crazy what we can do with it.
Yeah, that whole scene, like that whole like builder scene of those Volkswagens, has become industry in itself, just like those aftermarket parts. And you see, like the if you can get the most recent Syncro, 4-wheel drive one, those things go for like. If it's done, it's like $100,000. It's crazy what they go for, all done up stuff. Like even more for sure.
Yeah, easy.
Stock,
easy.
Like a stock one that's got the 4-wheel drive Synchro with the camper inside. It's like $80,000, I would guess. I don't know if it's in good shape. But then like, they're popular. So now you can't find them. Everyone's got a fucking Sprinter now. Sprinters are like, I don't know, it's just kind of super. They're cool, but there's other ones
nice,
coming along.
but they're I don't know. There's just not enough character yet.
No one's dirtbagging into Sprinter, man.
The thing is that, like the van, we go to this event, like there's a bunch of events. We don't go to all of them, but there's one event that I've been to where was a real eye opener. We go to Descend on Bend down by Bend, Oregon.
Okay.
Been there like, not this year because of COVID, but the last couple of summers prior. You go down there, you show up, there's like 600 VW vans.
Oh, yeah.
There's not two the same. Every single one is custom, different.
Right.
The people are all super rad, and then you go around and you're checking out, like, oh, what do you got? Like, and you figure out all these little customizations that you can do for your own rig, and like it's a total scene. It's quite.
I think people pride themselves on the difference. That's the thing. They want to customize. It's like, yeah, I might a little bit different. Why? Well, I did this. Oh, you did that. And like it's just like people want to be like they're stoked to showcase their little differences.
Well, and then they're happy to share. There's no secrets.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I did this. It's super badass. You should try this and that or whatever. This is where I got the parts and whatnot. But yeah, like we didn't realize that when we bought that van, we suddenly became part of a community.
A whole new world.
And you're instantly loved. You go there and people instantly embrace you and are happy to share on where you're from, what do you do, and oh, let's check out your van and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of fun. It's a bit geeky, but it's definitely fun.
And
And
vehicles seem to have that kind of nostalgia thing where there are like my dad had a Miata, which sounds like lame, but he was in a Miata club. People just love fucking Miatas, right? Or like, no one's got like a Oldsmobile wagon club. Maybe they do. It's not too old, but like
yeah. There's one on Gambier.
yeah. But no, it's cool. Like, and it's community too, right? That's a big. We're coming back to that too. It's like community. It's like you talk about the community you have on Gambier, but like go to those things. You meet people that are just like kind of the same. It's not the same as you, but they get it. They're like, we're doing the same thing. You know,
it's just an excuse to kind of get hang out and
Yeah.
talk about stuff. And first you talk about your vehicle. Next thing you know, you talk about the same things you would talk if you were in a different club. Like, oh, like what's that beer you're drinking? I'll have another. Sure. That's
beer from the
delicious.
guy on the street. Yeah.
What's on the barbecue? Oh, is that whatever?
Oh yeah, you're a barbecue guy, right? What do you use? Are you a smoker? You use Traeger grill? What do you grill on, man? You like pellets? Or you like bullet grill?
Well, it's been evolving, but
yeah,
it started with Mike Varon. You know Mike Varon.
Yeah, for sure. He's the barbecue guy too. He's big into it.
Barbecue guy, and in a while back, like a bunch of years ago, he got a barbecue from a mutual friend of ours, Al Landy. Gave him this Weber Performer. It's
Right.
like a kettle barbecue that's propane assist. And Varon calls me and he's all like, oh, or whatever. We're talking. He's all like, yeah, I'm in the club. I'm like, what club? With the Weber Club. The Performer Club. I'm like, what the hell is that? He goes, well, Landy gave me his Performer. I'm a part of the, because YP, you know YP?
Yeah, for sure.
YP, Peter Young in Whistler had one, and Landy had one, and now Varon had one. It's like, well, how do I get it? I want to be in the club.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be in the club. Right?
Berard's in that club too.
So he's like, what do I do? He goes, well, you got to get yourself a Performer. So right away, I called Home Depot in Squamish. It was the end of the season. I go down there. I meet the manager. I'm thinking, you got to sharpen your pencil. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, they're going to work you for a deal. Anyways, long story short, I bought this Weber Performer gas-assisted charcoal barbecue, and I was in the club.
Nice.
And then, fast forward, and then a whole bunch of us came in the club. Doug McFarlane, you probably know. He's the operations manager for Whistler Blackcomb. Brian Layton used to be the head of patrol for Whistler Blackcomb, for Whistler Mountain, and he was head of safety for Whistler Blackcomb. There's a bunch of us that are in this Weber Performer Club. Then I find out a buddy of mine, Luke Edgar, used to be a head marketing guy for K2 Snowboards when I used to shoot for K2 Snowboards. And we're still in touch. And I'm in touch with him. And I'm like, oh, hey, Luke, what's going on? What are you up to these days? Oh, I'm at VP of sales of Traeger Grills. I'm like, what's that? He goes, oh, we're like these wood pellet grills.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, of course, right away, I'm all excited. Barbecue. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm in a barbecue club in Whistler. And he's like, well, I got to hook you up, So he sends me this, like, next thing you know, I got this huge pallet shows up on my place. Cool. This massive grill, all these pellets and stuff. So they're these, like, smokers, like the pellet smoker. You can get up to high heat to sear, but you could also do, the nice thing is you can do super low heat and smoke. Yeah. And, with the Weber, you've got to be there finicking with the airflow all the time to maintain that temp. Whereas with the Webers, you don't. You set it and you forget it. And then now it's gotten so crazy. Like the barbecues now work with an app. You can watch the temperature. You can adjust the temperature. I can be out checking prawns and adjust the temperature for my brisket up at the tiki bar. Put the phone. Like, it's crazy. And then when I get there and I serve it, it's got this, like, beautiful smoke flavored. And then so then these guys have been like Traeger, who's like really been proactive with their marketing. They're like, so they're sponsoring all these pit masters, but they're sponsoring mixologists. And the guys are coming up with recipes with like these smoked ingredients for cocktails. And then they put out a book. So now I'm doing like smoked agave simple syrup for margaritas, and smoking my salt, and smoking my ice cubes, and smoking my fruit juice, and grilling my fruit, and
Awesome.
doing all these kind of like fun in the summer. We're doing all these like fun grilled cocktails as part of the tiki experience. It's so much fun.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Sick. I mean, they have um, yeah. I mean, I've seen this. I watch a lot of like shows. I mean, I watch like a lot of YouTube stuff and cooking. I will follow a couple of guys on YouTube, and there's this guy who smokes a watermelon, cuts it in half and smokes it in water. And people are smoking cheese. They put on a brick of ice and put the cheese in there and smoke cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I live in an apartment, so I can't do that. But my neighbor won one. He won a like a Broil King, I guess, just like a bullet one.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to use it. I'm like, dude, you should just try it. He's like, I don't know, it's a lot of work. I'm like, let me try it. I'll borrow it.
Yeah.
But there's a dude who lives in my apartment. He lives on the first floor, and he's got one that's on just out in his back deck there. And
Yeah.
every time I see smoke by the window, I'm like, hey man, dunk dunk. I'm like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
yeah, what's going on? I got some beers.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Yeah, I bring that little baggie of weed. I'm like, hey, you want to trade and stuff there? But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's good.
It's so much fun, man. It's
Yeah.
so much fun. And it's evolved so much that now like there's all these elements that you can do. Like we're doing desserts, we're doing cocktails. I mean, it's not just smoking, meats
Right.
and stuff, but all sorts of different.
There's tons of stuff you can do. You probably tan leather in there, I'm sure, if you wanted to smoke some leather. But yeah, I think there's like it's a big scene. Like there's obviously we have the barbecue champs and Whistler and stuff. I don't go too often, but Barbecue Bob in town here. He owns the Wildwood now,
Yeah.
and he makes these like brisket bennies.
Oh,
Dude.
nice.
Dude.
Jeez.
It's
Really?
Yeah,
I haven't had that.
Shit, it's out of control. So, yeah, his I mean, he's been doing. He's won. He's been down to Tennessee, the Jack Daniel's stuff. He's done really well for.
Yeah. His restaurant was good when he had it, for sure.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a battle against the Dusties.
Sure.
It was close, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but
it was good.
he owns a Wildwood, and he does like I think he does a still catering still under Barbecue Bob.
Is the Wildwood where the tennis club was?
No, the Wildwood there is gone now. There's only one in function. The one from the
Down by the cul-de-sac there.
yeah, by the flower shop there and stuff. That's been but
Oh,
the
I'm
one
just trying to figure out where we're gonna get this brisket.
yeah,
Benny.
dude. It's only like I think he does his briskets every Thursday night. So Fridays are the days when you got to go in there.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
When I go
That's
there, he's
good
like,
intel. That's good.
he sees me. He's like, "Hey, Proctor, I'll always go in there." He's like, "Put a little bit on the side of my plate. I'll order like something else." He's like, I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's so good, dude." But he doesn't have the Wildwood in the tennis courts is gone, and it moved into the village, and now it's gone too. So it's just the one in Function Junction.
I got a funny story about the barbecue championships. So Varen runs the barbecue championships out of Dusty's every year, and a bunch of years ago, I mean, it was probably 2008. And I invited Varen in August because we have an August-long weekend thing at Gambier, with live music and everything. It's called Commotion on the Ocean. And I invited Varen and a bunch of other friends to come, and Varen couldn't come because he was hosting the championships.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, well, whatever, dude. We'll have our own barbecue championships at Gambier. So I had a buddy of mine, Brian Reed, and a couple of other buddies, and we did a barbecue weekend. I probably had about 16 guests over for the weekend. And what we did is that for a whole weekend, starting on Friday afternoon, every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner had to have a barbecue component for 3 days.
You're cardiologist over there with you guys.
So, and then I didn't have a tiki bar at the time, so we had the barbecue pits. And then on the Saturday night was the live music event, the Commotion on the Ocean. So, we supported the barbecue pit there and, ordered the burgers from the barbecue thing or whatever. And the Sunday night was because it was a long weekend, and Monday I think was the day off. Sunday night was our big barbecue extravaganza. So I think I had like 8 barbecues going.
Yeah.
For everything for the whole dinner was on the barbecue. Like it's the veg. We had chicken and ribs, the veg, and all this kind of stuff. But I had all these barbecues, and then people were coming around and lifting lids and shit. And I'm like, so next thing you know, we had to put like some security tape. I had to have a security guy to keep people from lifting lids.
People
and
love
then we could do stuff like people could come and they could donate and then have their photo taken with the pit masters by the grill. But after that whole weekend, because of how chaotic it was, I went like, okay, I got to build a contained environment to run the show. And that was the birth of the Tiki Bar. And we built
Nice.
I built the Tiki Bar in 2009. The next year, started with this like outdoor kitchen thing, and that's what's been the evolution.
I think I saw some photos early on. Yeah, and this one you sent me looks pretty sweet, man. It's a good setup.
I'm pretty stoked right now, but yeah.
You got fired up when I went to barbecue. I just saw you like got close to the computer, started talking more. You're like, yeah. You got super psyched on it. It made me laugh.
I love it.
That's good. Hey, listen. So it's been like an hour and 20 minutes or so, hour and 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got. I think it's usually around the time I try to wrap it up. But it's been awesome talking. I don't know. I mean, I would love to keep talking, but if there's anything else you got to cover, something you want to get out, but. Yeah, no, I think we got to do it in person sometime for sure when we get a chance.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to. Yeah,
but,
and maybe at the Tiki Bar.
Dude, I'd be super pumped.
Bring your mobile setup.
Yeah, I will for sure. Yeah, we'll get it going. Yeah, I'd love to.
Summer thing, because now we're kind of shut down now. It's definitely cold and damp here, but summertime is full swings, and you know, hopefully by the summer things will have calmed down with what's going on. So yeah, we'd love to do round 2.
Boat over, we could, and maybe if you guys get this thing going, we could do like a podcast, help you guys promote that too if I ever get any listeners. But yeah, no, it'd be cool for sure. Dude, I'd be stoked to come over there. I've heard about it a bunch, and I've always seen photo stuff, and it'd be good to have.
You're always welcome.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool.
You go back.
Yeah, be good. So if people want to follow Eric, you can follow him on Instagram. Just Eric Berger, right? Is it Eric Berger Photography?
Eric Berger Photo.
Eric Berger Photo. Yep, guys got.
I got 3 Instagram accounts.
You got the van one. What's that one?
So there's Eric Berger Photo.
Yeah.
There's the Vanagon Diaries, and we just started a new one for the Gambier property. It's called Whispering Creek Retreat.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So we have a creek going through our property called Whispering Creek. So Whispering Creek Retreat.
Okay. I'll text you. You can send me just make sure I spell it right and everything. I can spell, but make sure I get it right. And I'll put them up on the screen if I can get my technology dialed. They'll be in the links for sure of the podcast.
Just gives people a chance to have another stream of the content's going to be good, right?
Yeah, right, for sure. And I'll give you something more to scroll past.
And the guy who runs it knows how to take a photo. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if there are any dog photos, I'm going to call you on it.
Yeah,
for sure.
and it's like a lot of good in the summer when things are fully happening. There's a lot of good barbecue content.
Nice. All right. Cool. Well, yeah, man. I really appreciate talking. It was great. I'm glad we got to connect. I think you got a cool thing going there. I like talking shit with you. So, let's do it again for sure in person right away. I'm just gonna hang up and then I'll just stop the recording. Then we can chat quickly before I do that. But yeah, again, Eric, thanks for coming on. And if you guys out there listening, thanks for listening. And yeah, check out Eric's stuff online. It's good shit.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah, buddy. I'm gonna try to. If I stop recording, I might hang up. I apologize.